saying there is something bigger, there is something more going on. I think he turned over some rock, and he shouldn't have turned it over. But I know that he didn't kill himself.
We will now journey deep into a portrait of terror for one Mr. Rey Rivera, formerly of Baltimore, Maryland. He took a step a little too far, a step leading you and he to that perpetual place in time where mystery and shadow bend light into darkness and usher in whispers of things that go bump in the night. Don't shoot the messenger and join me for another episode of the Fear Chronicles. In this case, we will play out 3 long-standing theories that have already been discussed and introduce a 4th. Along with the physical, mental, and scientific evidence, or lack thereof, we can now look at the spiritual. Did you know that the Belvedere Hotel is considered one of the most haunted places in Baltimore? Opened in December of 1903, kings, presidents, authors, politicians, and movie stars have made it a point to stay and live in the Belvedere. At one time the tallest building in Baltimore, it is renowned for murder, suicide, and ghostly activity. A perfect backdrop to unravel the Rey Rivera suicide-murder case and unpack the multidimensional trunk of evidence that surrounds the unsolved mystery. Physical evidence, or lack thereof. Rey Rivera's body was found on May 24, 2006 at the Belvedere Hotel. Rivera went missing from his home on May 16th, shortly after receiving a phone call from the Agora Publishing switchboard, for which he was employed as a subcontracted videographer. After several days of searching for clues to his whereabouts, family members found his car located at a parking lot off of St. Paul Street in Baltimore's Mount Vernon neighborhood near his workplace. Rivera's co-workers, George, Steve, and Mark, went to the top of the parking structure near where the car was discovered in search of clues to find their missing colleague, and noticed a hole in the roof of the south wing of the Belvedere Hotel. Reason number 1 for changing undetermined classification for cause of death. The fact that his co-workers found the hole raises some inner circle connections that were discarded and not followed up by law enforcement. One of these workers had info to share about and Rey's disappearance, but it was not taken seriously. Police soon discovered Rey's partially decomposed body inside a conference room under the hole, which his co-workers fortuitously discovered. As police began investigating, it seemed odd about Rivera jumping off the main roof of the Belvedere onto the lower roof 177 feet below, partly due to the style of the roof and the distance traveled. This suggests that Rivera came from the roof and traveled a horizontal distance of 45 feet before impact. He would have had to run at least 10 miles per hour, which is a fast jog for a male with a minimum run of 15 feet to carry him down the 177 feet to make the hole. At the time, the world record for the long jump was 29 feet. Rey would have had to beat the world record to make the jump. Reason number 2 for changing the classification of undetermined. The physics, along with the rooftop impediments, rule out Rey's ability to make the jump. There are much easier places for Rey to jump from. The balcony, for example, could easily be accessed through tenant rooms or unused office spaces, making it much easier to make the jump. Based on marginal security and Rey's familiarity with the hotel property and staff, gives pause to believe he leapt from the roof at all. Rivera's glasses, phone, and flip-flops were found relatively intact on the lower roof near the hole. The medical examiner ruled cause of death undetermined. The police think suicide and step back from their investigation and any further digging into the strange events surrounding his death. It doesn't appear Rey's DNA was found in or around the hole, and no roof material was ever mentioned as being present during the autopsy. Fact number 2, the autopsy report shows no cervical trauma, no spiral breaks to his legs, no accordion-shaped compaction of the skeleton, yet his skull was fractured, causing his head to be misshapen. These injuries are more consistent with being beaten with a baseball bat than a jump from an extreme height. Fact number 3, Workplace dissension. The company he worked for had been under investigation for fraud concerning false investment tips. One of the reasons Rey decided to part ways from the firm and get into videography. A strong undertone of Freemasons and secret societies leading to global wealth and political power were ever present, which led Rey to become interested in Freemasonry. Fact number 4, break-ins and intercompany distrust. There were attempted break-ins at Rey's home days before his disappearance, leading Rey to show signs of paranoia, along with a strange note found behind the computer dealing with Freemasons, among other things. After Rey was found dead, his best friend and employer, Porter Stansberry, issued a gag order on his employees so that no one could talk to police without an attorney. Yet someone from Agora Stansberry and Associates called Rey's house. Whatever was said caused him to leave immediately, and he was never seen alive again. The police never found out who made the call. Fact number 5, the roof and hotel cameras at the Belvedere were turned off the night Rey disappeared, but they were functional the day before, the 15th, and the day after, the 17th. Rey was not observed on any of the hotel cameras either entering or leaving. So was he ever at the hotel? Some speculate he was killed off-site and placed in the room post-mortem. The hole had been there for quite some time, made by falling debris from the architecture, but this and other murder accident scenarios will be unraveled in Part 2. Fact number 5. The primary investigator, Mike Byer, was taken off the case. He was the only detective doing heavy background checks and suspected foul play. He was marginalized by his superiors, who claim he was getting too close to Rey's wife to be objective. The chief, the prosecutor, and the Attorney General are all believed to have Freemason ties, with possible connections to other powerful Freemasons in Baltimore. The day of his death, Rey met with a Freemason to discuss membership possibilities. Number 7, FBI rules out note behind computer as suicide note. They said, and I quote, "People don't hide suicide notes. They leave them in a place where people will find them." Fact number 8. Medical examiner concludes Rey's injuries are not limited to someone who jumps from a great height. They're also consistent with someone who was beaten or run over by a car. Fact number 9. People who worked at the Belvedere knew Rey Rivera. They would have said something when questioned by the police, but nobody saw him. No video recordings of Rey coming or going from the hotel exist. Rey had been at the rooftop bar and went out on the roof to watch the sunset many times, but for some strange reason on May 16th, the hotel cameras were not working. Or perhaps they revealed that Rey was not even on the roof on May 16th. Fact number 10. Rey had a money clip. It was his prized possession, and yet it was missing from the items placed by the hole, which include his cell, flip-flops, and glasses. Years earlier, a man had jumped out of the Belvedere from the 8th floor. He landed on the street and broke almost every bone in his body. Rey supposedly jumped from the 13th floor, and he had much less damage. Now you're starting to get the picture. Detective Byer believes someone staged the crime scene and that the hole was too small for Rey's body to fit through. He was eventually pushed out of the case for approaching it like a crime scene for murder and not suicide. The police kept getting anonymous calls after Rey's death to retrieve his laptop from police evidence. I wonder why. Was there something in the laptop that was incriminating to someone in power?
I think he turned over some rock, and he shouldn't have turned it over. But I know that he didn't kill himself.
Tune in for Part 2, where we will discuss both new and old theories that can only point to homicide as we unravel the strange case of Rey Rivera.